Fed policy meeting indicated a continuation of rate hikes. Seoul's top diplomat reportedly asked his American counterpart to show flexibility in the way the Inflation Reduction Act is implemented. South Korea may review filing a complaint to the WTO regarding the law. The Ulchi Freedom Shield drill begins with field maneuvers included for the first time in years. President Yoon called for intense and effective exercises and stressed the need for a watertight defense readiness for peace. Hello, hope your week's off to a smooth start. I'm Daniel Che. Let's begin with our top story. The South Korean currency plunged to a 13-year low against the greenback. There are growing concerns over the Fed's tight monetary policy. The nation's benchmark index also dropped over 1%. Choi Min-jung starts us off.
The South Korean won has yet again hit its lowest point against the U.S. dollar, this time in 13 years and 4 months. Monday's session opened with the exchange rate passing 1,331. The session closed with the won trading at 1,339.8 against the dollar. This is a level not seen since April 2009. From the previous session, it was an increase of 13.91. At one point during Monday's session, the exchange rate crossed 1340. The won lost further ground against the dollar after the minutes from the U.S. Federal Reserve's policy meeting last week indicated that interest rate hikes would continue. In July, the Fed raised its benchmark interest rate by 75 basis points for the second straight month, and rate hikes seem likely to continue to tame surging inflation.
When the U.S. interest rate is higher than that of Korea, the value of the Korean won depreciates. There's high instability at the moment.
The depreciation of the Korean won also raises concerns as to whether it'll have an immediate impact on the country's trade. But an expert says that this is not likely just yet.
It's going to take a long time, at least in half a year, for the rate to have a significant effect upon trade. Other currencies like Chinese yuan or Japanese yens are rising a lot faster. That, I think, has a detrimental effect upon Korean trade, even in the longer term.
On concerns over the Fed's aggressive monetary policy, Korea's benchmark stock index, the KOSPI, closed at 2,462, falling 1.2%. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Over in Washington, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act includes a key provision meant to spur growth in the EV market. But this puts South Korean auto giants in a tight spot, as consumers purchasing their products won't be eligible for certain tax cuts. Lee Yeon explains further.
The Biden administration has taken what it says is a big step to tame inflation in the U.S.
We're going to cut the deficit point out by another $300 billion with the Inflation Reduction Act over the next decade. We're cutting deficits to fight inflation by having the wealthy and big corporations finally begin to pay part of their fair share.
One of the key provisions of this Inflation Reduction Act aims to make electric vehicles more mainstream. It will allow all buyers, even if they have a high income, to get a $7,500 tax credit for buying an EV. But to qualify, the car has to be assembled in North America. This one requirement alone has already disqualified dozens of EV models, including those from South Korea's biggest car makers, Hyundai and Kia. Adding to this, the act restricts the use of battery components or critical minerals derived from China, which has caused a major controversy.
The problem is that the law was signed after Hyundai Motor pledged to invest over $10 billion and build EV production lines in the state of Georgia just 3 months ago when President Biden visited Korea. This law uses an America First kind of logic.
Hyundai and Kia have no EV production lines in the U.S. Their EVs, the Ioniq 5 and the EV6, are made in Korea. On top of that, for EV battery components, South Korea relies on China to source over 70% of its materials. So how will South Korean EV makers be able to survive in the U.S. market? After the law was passed, South Korea expressed concerns that it could be a violation of the rules of the World Trade Organization and the South Korea-U.S. FTA. On Friday, Seoul's top diplomat Park Jin reportedly asked his U.S. counterpart Antony Blinken for some flexibility in the way the law is implemented. In this case, an expert says, South Korea has two main strategies.
The first would be for the South Korean government to keep urging the U.S. to delay the implementation of the law or to allow tax benefits for Korean EVs while working with American organizations that oppose the law. Also, Korean car makers should get their EV production lines ready as soon as possible, especially Hyundai Motor, which will have its own EV lines in Georgia in 2025.
He added that Hyundai and Kia should consider at least temporarily converting their combustion engine production lines to produce EVs so that they can respond to this crisis without delay. Lee Dae-hyun, Arirang News.
In response to the Inflation Reduction Act, Seoul reviews the option of filing a complaint to the WTO. Industry Minister Lee Chang-yang expressed concerns and told the U.S. trade representative that the law would violate various free trade deal rules. It excludes tax subsidies for EVs built in non-American nations, including South Korea. This is concerning for local auto giants Hyundai Motors and Kia, as their vehicles are assembled domestically before being shipped abroad. The minister plans to raise the matter with U.S. officials during his trip to Washington in early September. The nation's foreign ministry rejected a claim reportedly made by Japanese officials that Seoul asked Tokyo to lift restrictions on certain exports and that Japan said no. According to Sankei Shimbun, multiple local officials said Seoul's top diplomat made the request during talks with his Japanese counterpart on the sidelines of ASEAN meetings earlier this month. But South Korea's foreign ministry clarified that Park Jin asked only for cooperation in improving ties, not lifting export ban. Tokyo imposed restrictions on key export items needed for the semiconductor industry back in 2018 in a move widely regarded as retaliation for court rulings against Japanese companies involved in forcing Koreans into labor during World War II. The government will devise stronger fiscal rules to prevent massive deficit spending and to keep its debt level in check. Also unveiled a plan to manage projects more efficiently and effectively to ensure fiscal soundness. Ji-young tells us more.
Amid concerns that South Korea's national debt could be getting out of control, the Yoon administration is to come up with stricter fiscal spending rules as early as this month. The Finance Ministry said on Monday that the government plans to keep the ratio of fiscal deficit to GDP under 3%. In other words, each year's government spending minus income, excluding certain programs, cannot be more than 3% of GDP. The government is also looking to keep the total debt to GDP ratio in check at under 60%. The total debt to GDP ratio this year is expected to be around 50%. If either ratio exceeds its threshold, then the government is expected to make adjustments so that the other meets its target. But there will be exceptions to the fiscal rules in times of disaster or economic crisis. An expert says in times of economic difficulties, the government should maintain a certain level of fiscal deficit in order to stimulate the economy.
Economic situation in Korea right now needs some active involvement of the government. So I think it is acceptable for the government to incur a certain level of fiscal deficit. Economic growth for the second half will be, I think, a lot less than 3%.
The Finance Ministry said it plans to announce details of next year's budget based on the new fiscal rules as early as this month and push for the legislation to be enforced. The ministry also unveiled a plan for the next 5 years to strengthen the financial effectiveness and efficiency of government projects. The budget for government projects will be adjusted depending on their performance evaluation results. Under the plan, when the performance evaluation comes out as insufficient, the budget for the project will be cut in the following year. Submitting a plan for improving the performance will be made mandatory for those projects where budgets cannot be adjusted. 10 essential projects which involve key policy measures and have a major impact on the public will be managed separately with extra care. The ministries will also share performance results for each project with the public in a way that's easy to understand. 엄지영, 아리랑 뉴스.
Seoul and Washington are holding combined military exercise with field maneuvers for the first time in years. Civil defense drills are also underway nationwide. They're meant to provide rehearsals for emergency response procedures, especially those related to North Korean threats. Bae-eun-ji fills us in.
The Ulchi Freedom Shield, a large-scale combined military training operation between Seoul and Washington, has kicked off in South Korea. The exercise will include 13 different types of field training programs, as well as computer-simulated training. It consists of two parts. First, countering North Korean attacks and defending the capital area, and second, training for counterattacks to secure the safety of the capital region. It's the first fully fledged joint drill since 2018, after the two countries canceled some exercises and scaled down others in recent years, both to enhance diplomacy with Pyongyang and because of the pandemic. Through the drills, the South Korean military aims to strengthen its alliance with the U.S., as well as its combined defense readiness to counter threats from North Korea. During the drill that'll continue until September 1st, full operational capability, or FOC assessments, will also be carried out. These are considered vital for the conditions-based transfer of wartime operational control from Washington to Seoul. On the civilian front, the Ulchi civil defense drills also kicked off this morning, involving some 480,000 officials from local governments and public institutions. This is the first time the exercise will be carried out on a full scale since the COVID-19 outbreak and will continue for 4 days until Thursday. These drills serve as an opportunity for the country to review emergency procedures and allow people to become familiarized with emergency escape routes and zones. Bae-eun-ji, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol called on officials to make sure the drills are effective. The South Korean leader stressed the need for airtight defense readiness in order to maintain peace on the peninsula. Yoon Jung-min shares with us his remarks.
Airtight security posture for peace on the Korean peninsula. That's what President Yoon called for as he presided over a cabinet meeting on the first day of the Ulchi exercise.
한반도의 평화를 유지하기 위해서는 우리의 빈틈없는 안보 태세가 바탕이 되어야 합니다. 이번 울지 연습은 변화하는 전쟁 양상에 맞춰서 우리 정부의 비상 대비 태세를 새롭게 정비하는 출발점이 될 것입니다.
The 4-day Ulchi civil defense drills involving more than 480,000 people at some 4,000 public institutions nationwide are designed to boost government readiness and run parallel to the South Korea-U.S. joint military exercises. During the meeting, Yoon also urged prompt recovery measures for damages from the recent downpours and declared a designation of 10 areas hit hardest as special disaster zones. The areas, including Gwanak-gu district in Seoul and Yangpyeong-gun county in Gyeonggi-do province, will now be eligible for the government's financial support in recovery efforts, relief funds for victims, and others. Also eligible for state funds this time will be small business owners affected by the disaster.
정부는 집중호우로 피해를 입은 분들께서 신속하게 일상으로 복귀하실 수 있도록 신속한 응급복구와 피해 지원에 총력을 다하겠습니다. 재발 방지를 위한 인프라 구축과 취약계층, 취약지역 대비책도 철저하게 챙기겠습니다.
This is the first special disaster zone designation under the Yoon administration. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Seoul and Beijing's top diplomats are set to celebrate 30 years of bilateral ties. This coming Wednesday, the nation's foreign ministers and his Chinese counterpart will attend ceremonies separately in their respective countries. Pundits say the presence of these officials highlights the importance of the two countries' diplomatic ties. The Chinese embassy in Seoul held a special event to mark the anniversary. The nation's daily COVID-19 tally exceeded 59,000 on Monday. Authorities expect a decline in the latest resurgence after this week, but also warn the caseloads may increase again in autumn. Jung Eun-ju helps us look beyond the digits.
South Korea's new daily COVID-19 infections fell for the 5th consecutive day on Monday, as the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency reported 59,046 new cases. The number of severely ill patients has increased by 20 to reach 551. There were 65 COVID-19 related deaths, raising the fatality rate to 0.12% from the previous 0.07%. Although authorities expect the current wave to peak this week, the head of the government's expert advisory panel on infectious diseases also forecasts a COVID-19 resurgence this fall. Panel Chairman Chung Ki-seok warned at a briefing on Monday that the nation faces another wave of transmissions between October and November.
Another big wave remains because in October and November, the population's immunity levels will drop.
Tong explained this drop in immunity levels will happen regardless of whether people have been infected previously or vaccinated. He then promised that the advisory committee will work to change healthcare and emergency response systems before the next resurgence so high-risk groups can receive treatment when they need it. 정은주, Arirang News.
The Education Ministry announced measures to expand opportunities for digital education and train 1 million digital talents by the year 2026. This group refers to people skilled in fields such as AI, software, big data, the metaverse, cloud, and other digital technologies. Part of the plan involves allowing universities to raise admission quotas in related departments, also increasing the number of graduate schools in these fields and training researchers through special programs. At the elementary and middle school level, there will be more time devoted to IT, an increase in related classes, as well as an expansion of education on software and AI education. Since 2011, the crippled Fukushima Daiichi plant generated some 1.3 million tons of contaminated water. Japan plans to start releasing it into the ocean. In response, Korean scientists worked on developing ways to remove radioactive elements from such fluids and made some impressive progress. Shin Yoon zooms in on this important research.
In a few months, we may see coasts like where I am right now contaminated with nuclear waste. That's because Japan's Nuclear Regulation Authority has given the green light to release radioactive water from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant starting next spring. Though the Japanese government said it would dilute the water so tritium levels fall below what's considered dangerous, neighboring countries like South Korea and China have expressed concerns. That's why a group of researchers here in the country has decided to take action. They found a way to get rid of harmful radioactive elements like iodine from the sea. And let's go find out how.
The Korea Atomic Energy Research Institute took the initiative in 2019. In just 3 years, they've accomplished what other researchers around the world couldn't. They found a way to selectively remove radioactive iodine from water. What did the trick was coating magnetic iron nanoparticles with platinum. Because platinum sticks well to iodine, it can suck the radioactive particles out. Being able to selectively remove radioactive elements is said to be a game changer.
We've now found a way to easily and efficiently save the Earth. Unlike other absorbents out there, ours can be used up to 100 times. Because we're able to selectively get rid of radioactive iodine, the cleaned up water can still be of use.
The latest development can also be used at hospitals to clean up radioactive waste from anti-cancer drugs. It can also selectively extract natural iodine, which is used to make medicine. The team leader said more developments are on the way.
Right now, we're only able to decontaminate 20 liters of water at once. We hope we can expand the maximum capacity before this development gets commercialized. We're also working on extracting other radioactive elements like cesium.
Once this technology is commercialized, South Korea will be one of the first countries in the world to suck out millions of tons worth of iodine from the sea. Shin Yoon, Arirang News.
The hot summer in Europe has led to droughts in many parts of the continent, but as rivers and lakes dry up, some pieces of history that's not often visible are revealed. These include a stone structure in Spain that was built thousands of years ago. Lee Seung-jae files us this report.
For many areas of Europe, it's been one of the worst summers on record, as countries in the region have been suffering their worst drought in decades. However, one unexpected side effect of the record drought has been the uncovering of pieces of history that have been kept hidden for years under some of the biggest bodies of water. In fact, weeks of brutal heat and limited rainfall have drained water levels in some of the continent's biggest rivers and lakes, uncovering items from the past. In the central Spanish province of Caceres, archaeologists saw the Valacanes Reservoir expose the rarely visible dolmen of Guadaparal after its water levels receded due to the drought. Often dubbed the Spanish Stonehenge, the circle of dozens of megalithic stones is believed to date back to 5000 BC. Similarly, in Germany, the low rainfall has unveiled submerged boulders with decades-old dates carved into them in River Rhine, also known as hunger stones. However, the appearance of the hunger stones is not welcome news for the Germans, as they see it as a warning and reminder of the hardships people faced during former droughts. Earlier this month, Italy, which is seeing its worst drought in 70 years, saw the River Po dry up, uncovering a World War II-era bomb. The Italian army was called in to carry out a controlled detonation, while other bombs were also uncovered in different parts of the country. Experts fear that while some artifacts have been a joyous discovery, many such as World War II-era bombs may pose a danger to ships that are still moving through the rivers and lakes despite the low water levels. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Shifting our focus back here in the nation, the gates to Gyeongbokgung Palace will open for nocturnal tours again from next month. They'll run from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. every night from September 1st to November 6th. Tickets go on sale from Thursday for the first round of tours and are priced at 3,000 won. It's becoming one of the most popular events in Seoul, and tickets often sell out very quickly. So anyone wanting to visit will have to book fast. For more information, check out royalpalace.go.kr. Jeju is known mostly as a holiday destination, but the southern resort island recently gained attention for offering popular and trendy goods, from meal kits to edible cosmetics. Cho Sung-min sheds light on how local businesses put their products on the map.
Meal kits, or easy-to-cook packaged meals, have recently gained popularity in South Korea due to their convenience. As the market has grown so much, there are always new variations hitting supermarket shelves. This includes meal kits with high-end delicacies from Jeju Island, such as octopus, black-pig pork, and shiitake mushrooms. The meal kit companies also provide instructional videos on how to prepare the food, which can be found by scanning a QR code on the packaging with a smartphone. Their efforts to use cleaner ingredients are attracting younger customers wishing to enjoy a healthy meal.
Our products come in various forms, like stews, so customers are highly satisfied with our ingredients. We strive to make fresher, cleaner, and healthier meal kits using organic ingredients grown ourselves.
Some fruits and vegetables from the island are regarded as key ingredients in the edible cosmetics that have become popular. While most of the products are made using carrot and tangerine extracts, some of the more premium cosmetics are even made of different types of seaweed and rare plants from Hallasan Mountain, like almond mushrooms and prickly pear cacti.
Carrots from the garden and John Dory fish caught in our waters are all valuable ingredients and high-quality sources that we can use. We have now become a global brand with branches overseas.
On the back of these new products made with local ingredients, businesses from Jeju Island hope to continue to come up with high-quality products that show off what their island has to offer. Cho Sung-min, Arirang News.
Hello, I'm Lee Ji-yeon with the latest weather updates, filling in for Lee Seung-min. A late summer heat wave sweeps across Korea, and high humidity is no help either. Though most of the heat advisories in central regions have been lifted as of late this afternoon. Well, there was some passing rain in Seoul during the day, and now please brace for more rain from tonight, starting in the capital region and spreading nationwide overnight. And the south will see rain through Wednesday morning. Overnight temperatures will stay on the warmer side due to the lingering heat and cloud coverage, so tropical nights are expected for most parts of the country. Well, despite rain, southern provinces will have another warm afternoon tomorrow, going up to 33 degrees Celsius over in Daegu and Gyeongju. Seoul topping out at 30 degrees Celsius with a glimpse of sunshine by the afternoon. Tomorrow is Choseol, the second autumn seasonal term. In fact, tonight's rain should bring breezier mornings and evenings to the country by the end of the week. With that, here's a look at the weather conditions around the globe.
That's all from us. As always, thank you for watching.
The stage of global urban diplomacy will be Daejeon.